the lumbar spine, especially in a plank position or push-up position. Not coughing, but exhaling, which is what a cough is.
Yeah.
Strong exhale. Yeah, so engaging that. Yeah, I like the word engage, because if you say contract, then you need a whole lecture on what contractions are. So using the word engage as a cue, I think most people understand that. They might not understand how to do it, so sometimes you would have to explain it as, you know, let's really exhale, forcefully, you know, and they'll feel it.
There's a breath exercise that's forceful exhale. That's probably strengthening that.
Exactly. Exactly. Because it's hard to reach other
The
ones.
breath, sorry, yeah.
Yes. And then as far as those fat layers and things are concerned, the only reason I can speak from experience with that is because in our anatomy class, we had to dissect the 7 cadavers, and each person has a very different layer of fat. What what's healthiest for people is that inch that we talked about, but you'll find that each person has a different layer in different places of the body, and
so in your opinion, an inch of fat is optimal?
An inch of fat is fine. How's that? If you want to keep warmer. and the belly area does have more fat than other areas. You're not going to have an inch of fat over your biceps, or something like that. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, each to his own as far as whether you want to be warm or not. So any other questions about that whole decor? Because I'd like to do something with that whole thing. And that is come onto the mats. And first, just because we've been sitting for a while, just bring yourself into child's pose, using whatever props you need to use. So if you like, blanket between your heels and your hips, that's good for people who have some knee injuries, or maybe even a hip injury. Sometimes even tell people on one side if it's really uncomfortable to just ease that leg out to the side or to the back. But you guys are all fine. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Let's release the tension in the shoulders. So if you're reaching your arms forward, that's great for the shoulders, but let's pull those ears away from the shoulders away from the ears. Think of that nice long spine. And then I'm going to put my hands right about where the quadratus lumborum is. Yeah, is that okay? I'm not going to push it. Okay. So do you want a blanket or no?
I guess, yeah, you put your arm.
Okay. I'm going to do that for you. And I'm not going to push you any deeper, just relax. Yeah. So right here is that quadratus lumborum. My fingers would be on your lumbar spine. My palms would be where the connection is right on the iliac crest of the pelvis. Breathe right into that area. Good. And remember, it's deep. The psoas major, lumbar tendons are right about the same area. What, Darcy? I'm not going to push
think about these muscles as I'm...
Oh, no.
And you were touching Joanne, the QLs is where your hands were?
Yes. That's about that area. So yeah, really covering the whole lower back. Psoas major right along with it. But then the psoas major comes down the front of the hips and goes to the thigh, remember. Whereas the quadratus lumborum stays posterior to the pelvis. Good. And then that transverse abdominis just wrapping around like a big, thick waistband. Right around that spine to stabilize the spine. Okay, let's walk your hands in and roll up. Unless you have the lumbar disc problems, you come up a little flatter, remember. And come to table position. Okay, spread the fingers, wrists right under the shoulders, knees right under the hips. Let's just do a little sway of the hips side to side. So when we do that, that's actually lateral flexion of the spine, even though we're moving the pelvis. Okay, so we're stretching and strengthening the quadratus lumborum a little bit. And And then stay to one side and just look back to that hip. So good lateral flexion. So you're stretching the quadratus lumborum on the opposite side, the longer side, and then do it to the other side. Come back to center, and let's just do a few cat-cows. So cat back would be rounding, pulling the belly up. We talked about this being an exercise in yoga for the rectus abdominis, because it's spinal flexion against gravity as your resistance. When you inhale, lift the tailbone and lift the head, shoulders away from the ears again, heart don't bend. So now we're going into advanced lordosis of the lower back. So we don't want to stay there too long. So just back and forth, exhaling on the cat, spreading those shoulder girdles too, great, and inhaling, lengthening, feeling like you're lengthening even though you're really hyperextending the spine. Exhaling and lengthening the spine here on flexion of the spine. Good, everyone's wrists okay, if not go to fists, or do what Darcy has done, which is put more of a mat underneath the wrists. Okay, so let's come up onto the knees. And we'll do our crossbar from yoga. So, let's face actually the wall here so that you have room to put your right leg out. And yes, you can pad your knees if you like. And your choice today of whether you want the leg abducted, which would be knees and toes forward, or whether you want it rotated, which would be knees and toes up. Your choice, whatever feels good. But do take your hands to your hips and feel that your pelvis is even. Yeah, so because one leg's out, that hip will try to be higher than the other, but I want you to try to even them out. So to do that, you actually have to use some of those deeper core muscles, although you're probably not thinking about that. It just really happens naturally, involuntarily. And so to stretch that quadratus lumborum, take that right hand down through the knee, past the knee, lift your left arm up and over. So yeah, you're getting a nice lat stretch here also. The lats go up the side of the body to the top of the arm, the humerus. Inhale. And exhale and try to lift the ribcage on the bottom side also. And then inhale up. And then just to do an easier stretch to the other side, just reverse that. Take your left hand down, or right hand up. And if you like, you can even try to take that armpit right towards your face. You can look up, you can look forward, you can look down, wherever it feels best for your head, your neck. And then inhale, come up and reach up. Use your core to help you come up, that deep core. Great. And then hands on the floor or not to switch legs. Margaret, you need to move this way a little? No. You're good? Yeah. Okay. So whatever you did on the first side, outward rotation or abduction of the hip, do that same thing on that
And is
other
that just
side.
a variation for tightness in the hip?